Does it work now? It should be working now, I think. And now, by the time YouTube's finally got its acting gear, nobody will be clicking on the live stream anyway. So I'll be talking to myself. So it should be working now. It is working for me, but I'm going to assume that it's working for you guys as well. Evening, Adam. Unfortunately, a lot of people who entered earlier probably aren't going to bother now because of how badly it went earlier on. We've got 4 people. A very small, contained live stream. Got a couple of things I wanted to cover. Usually ends up being a bit of a Q&A kind of video anyway, but we'll see how it goes. I've got some fresh ink as well. Well, it's not fresh. Got the first layer a couple of weeks ago and redid it. Talk special projects. Probably end up talking about Gran Turismo 7 1.61. Howdy, Joseph. Or we're assuming, I guess, that it will be called 1.61. Bit of Q&A. Usually ends up being a Q&A anyway. And funnily enough, to kind of follow on from last time when we were talking about ideal first cars and stuff, I'm having to, hi again, Ron, working this time, finally. Last time somebody asked about ideal beginners cars, and now, as I put in the thumbnail, I don't know if this video has a thumbnail yet, so if you guys let me know, when you saw this come up as a live stream, did it have a thumbnail, or was it just like this? Because it should have had a thumbnail, but I don't know if it always applies it when the video's live. It should have been a Mercedes S-Class. But yeah, it's an unfortunate time, and also looking to the future because I'd already had plans to change a car anyway. Because as I fall out of my chair, I was thinking of getting a longer term, or not longer term, a longer distance car anyway. I think I talked about that last time anyway, actually. So good. It does have the thumbnail. And I've ended up having to push the timing forward on getting another car because my little steed, the Daihatsu, has finally given up. Well, it hasn't actually given up, but it's failed its MOT, which here in the UK, you have to have a safety check basically on your car every year. And it's not failed on anything that you can't fix, but I think it's kind of, it's like the sign, you know, to get the next thing. I was doing more motorway miles, and I still am doing more motorway miles than I was before. So I feel like it's probably the right time. Hi, Descart. Yes, I do. You can always tell that I do a live stream when I can't be bothered to do an actual video for the day. But I go for like 10, 15 years between live streams usually. And yeah, it is a little beast, Joseph. That's the second MOT. I think it might be, if it's not the only car I've ever done 2 MOTs on, it's definitely one of only 2 at the most that I've done 2 MOTs on, because I don't usually keep cars for long enough to get it MOT'd 2 years running. But yeah, it's been a fantastic little car. It's still paid for itself many times over. Technically, I've still got it now. But yeah, it failed. It failed its MOT on exhaust emissions, which you can get around that. It needs a new O2 sensor anyway. And to be honest, even in the review for the car, you could see it needed the O2 sensor because the engine light was on. So that's not the end of the world. But the more pressing thing, really, at least in terms of like weighing up the value of the car and how much I need it, is it has a cracked spring on the front suspension. And although I haven't had the chance to double check what they mean by cracked, because that could mean like a hairline crack or is it Wakil? I'm going to say Wakil, and you can you can correct me. I don't know if the spring is completely sheared or if it's got like a hairline fracture or anything like that, but regardless, that's got to be changed. And turns out the company who was based in Sheffield, who made the custom springs for the Daihatsu Rally, doesn't exist anymore. And when they went out of business, nobody kept the files. So you can't get original stock springs for Daihatsu Syrian Rally 2s anymore, which is a shame. So it means that if I do keep it, and if I got it through its MOT, I'd have to put it on coilovers, which again, you know, it's not bad. It's kind of a cool thing, but that's a couple of £100 plus fitting it, plus get the emissions sorted for a car which definitely isn't increasing in value, and which, although I like it, it's not ideal for the motorway. You know, I'm doing like 60 miles an hour, which is like 100 kilometers an hour, and it's sitting at like 3,000 RPM. And it's okay, you know, it's a Toyota engine, but it's not ideal. So I've narrowed it down to a couple. I'm still thinking Jag. But we'll see. I was also considering a Mercedes S-Class, like the one in the thumbnail. There's one for sale that looks interesting, but I don't know. I've always gone back and forth on getting a Mercedes, but I've never actually had one yet, which is ironic because when I was a kid, Mercedes was my favorite brand, and I've still never actually bought one. But we'll see. You never know. In terms of Gran Turismo 7 stuff, because I'll probably come back to the car, special projects, I've decided how that's going to work from now on, because for those of you who watched the last pack, or in particular, I think it was the last video of the last pack, I said that special projects is going to change in future, so I'm going to do 5 cars in a pack instead of 10, because we don't know how long Gran Turismo 7 is going to be going on for. So I don't want to run out of cars completely and then have no packs at all, no content at all coming out in that kind of, you know, way for those who do enjoy it. And the packs have definitely had less and less people over time, but I still want to have something there for people to do, for those who do enjoy it. So I've decided that for Forza, I'm going to be doing more special projects to kind of back up the lesser Gran Turismo 7 side. So the plans are going to be, instead of doing Monday to Friday 2 special projects every day, it will be Monday to Friday 1 special project each day for GT7. I already do members videos on the channel every Tuesday and Thursday anyway, so that'll stay the same. But then Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'll do 3 special projects in Forza, in Horizon 5 as well. So you can obviously still get that on the PS5 for those who have bought that. And yeah, I think it would be a nice way of kind of bringing Forza and Gran Turismo together. So, who agrees Top Gear track needs to be in GT7? Yeah, it'd be cool to have it back. I mean, they've had it before. The only thing I don't like about this, and this doesn't seem to happen as much anymore, but back in Forza 4, when they had the Top Gear track, they copied the exact camera angles that the show had. I don't think Gran Turismo did, if I recall correctly, or at least they were slightly off, but because Forza got it so close, I uploaded a few videos way back in the day, and the BBC would claim Forza videos because it looked that much like the actual Gran Turismo or Top Gear footage that they would think you'd taken BBC's episode footage, which sucks. So it meant that I couldn't really make any videos. They've gotten a lot better than that back then, but yeah, it'd be cool to have it back. I mean, why not? Top Gear isn't what it used to be, though, so even then, I don't know. Then again, that might mean that the what's the word I'm trying to think of? The licensing might be cheaper now that it's not as, you know, big as it used to be. Thoughts on a Subaru Legacy? I've never driven a Subaru. I'm yet to drive any Subarus in real life. I like the Legacy in principle. It's like kind of the more sensible bigger brother, isn't it, to the Impreza. I could see myself liking the Legacy more potentially, but yeah, I haven't driven it, so I'm not sure. It kind of reminds me of a bit of a Saab kind of vibe, like a Saab 9.5 turbo sort of thing. But yeah, don't see why I wouldn't like it. Got 2 launches in the database. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people would probably be happy actually to see the Fiat Coupe come back. That was another one that used to be in Forza as well, and that was a strong car in Forza. And apparently in real life, people love the Fiat Coupe for front-wheel drive drag racing. in particular, which kind of makes sense because it's front-wheel drive. It's got great aerodynamics anyway, not that important for drag racing, but, you know, it still is. And the longer wheelbase, I would imagine, is probably quite good for the shifting of the weight. So you don't have to worry about, like, the car bouncing around too much because it has more of that sports car kind of shape. But, yeah, apparently they're very popular for drag racing. As far as Dan's question about SUVs, I love the idea of SUVs, and I love the like Gran Turismo 6 era of SUVs because they were all great. The Pikes Peak Quattro, Mazda MX Cross Sport, the Infiniti, what was it, FX45 concept. There were some really good ones, the Chevy Silverado. But now it's like the SUVs that they're adding. I mean, they're not SUVs. They're jacked up hatchbacks. Most of them are front-wheel drive. The ones that aren't have a CVT, so they're not that quick anyway. If it was something like even electric, if they added like a Lotus Elite, that's my favorite electric car, or like a Rivian, or the GMC Hummer EV, those would be SUVs that would actually have like serious power in them. Or if you went down the traditional route of like what I used to have, like a Touareg, add a Volkswagen Touareg R or something in there, or a Audi Q7 or an SQ7, those would be great. Or a Range Rover SVR, that'd be awesome in Gran Turismo. So I'd love like proper full-size SUVs, or even like traditional 4x4s. But yeah, it's not the SUVs that are the problem for me. It's just generally the choice of them. Because if you think about it, the only one which is really, really good is the Urus, which is kind of a cheat anyway to even have that as an SUV. But hi, is it Hashiria? I've never had to say your name out loud. I always just read it. But yeah, they are rare streams. And yeah, that aspect of Mercedes, because Adam said about the servicing and parts for a muck, that is the main thing that's always put me off, because an aunt of mine had an A-Class, like the old horrible little A-Class, and even a key was like £200 to replace. So the part costs have always put me off Mercedes. But one of the things I'm actually thinking of, and I don't know if I'd go for this, but I'm kind of thinking of a Mercedes 190 from back in the day. Obviously not the Evo, but those are just, they're tanks. They just keep going. And I love the idea of my daily driver still being a classic, but I'd probably get the diesel, like a 190D. And they're still not cheap. Like for what they are, they're still expensive in comparison to modern cars, or at least newer cars. But they just keep going. You know, they've got millions of miles on them in some cases. It's a diesel that has like no electrics or minimal electrics. And yeah, I kind of like the idea. I reviewed the BMW 3 Series on the channel a while back as well, and it would be interesting to see how it compares to that. Yeah, I think that's probably more so what I'm expecting from Gran Turismo at this point. Crossovers rather than SUVs, which like most of those are pretty stupid anyway, in my opinion. But a Rimac would be awesome. I think I said that on the last live stream as well. The Rimac came up. I've actually really gotten into the Lotus Evija recently as well, especially in Horizon 5. It's a very fun car. You have to kind of tune the Evija in the right way because of having the gearbox in there, which is unusual for an EV, but it does mean that it's quite a good platform in terms of whether you want acceleration or top speed. It's a bit like tuning a Chaparral 2J with the old 3-speed box. The problem with a Subaru Legacy is that I don't think we really have that many in the UK. I think we might have some like normal ones, but no interesting ones. Like I always like the Porsche design one, the Blitzen, the B4. I mean, good luck finding one of them over here. And I'm looking for like super low budget because this is literally just a motorway runabout. So I'm looking at like probably like $4,000 or less, something like that for one. And you can get a nice car for that, but they're all higher mileage, and most JDM, you're not getting anything for $4,000 because everything's shot up. Model cars on the window, I've got, well, these ones here. There's a Viper RT10, Peugeot 907, a Volkswagen Nardo. I don't want to open this too much, it'll blow out the lighting, but a Cadillac Cian, Cadillac LMP. I've got a Hummer there as well on the other end. I've got Ford GT90. But yeah, I've got them all around the room. Up here, I've got my favorite 6 over here, which are Maserati MC12, Cadillac 16, Aston Martin Rapide, Ferrari FF, Panoz GTR1 road car, and the Renault Espace F1. Those are my 6 absolute favorites. And then there's other ones around: Bugatti Royale, Lotus Elise GT1, Celine S7, SLR, Daytona Cobra. Got a couple of MV Agusta bike ones as well: Quattroporte, Bugatti Royale, I think I already said that. Got CLK GTR, Williams, or not Williams, Jag F1 with a HSBC livery, Porsche RS Spider, Touareg, Auto Union Streamliner, 59 Cadillac, BMW V12 LMR, CLK touring car, Williams FW15C, Callaway C12. So basically all the cars that I love in Gran Turismo, those are the ones that I bought. Oh, the 190E. Yeah, I don't know, because they are and they aren't. Because obviously, if a car is just treated like trash, then nothing goes on forever. But they're simple. They're massively popular as taxis. Not so much in the UK, but in Europe especially, because they just keep going. And they're so simple that, look at the Daihatsu. It's been a fantastic car, and it's outstandingly reliable until it isn't. So I need a car that is super reliable and interesting and not too difficult to find parts. And like the 190E, they built over 1.8 million of them, so there are still loads of parts available. And being a diesel, it's just just all day long. It's basically like a generator engine just in a car. It doesn't even have a turbo. And also for the 3 Series, yesterday I spent all day, totally wasted the day going to look at buying a new car. And it would have been a really cool new daily driver, actually. I still wish it had worked out better. I went to look at an Alpina. I was going to buy an Alpina D3, which is, in fact, I reviewed one. It was exactly the same spec as the one I reviewed in Beards and Cars back in 2022, when I was like out here with a big beard as well. But it's based on an E90 320D, basically. But they tweaked the ECU. It's got the Alpina body kit, those multi-spoke rims that Alpina's known for. Really nice car, 6 manual, 200 horsepower, 60 to the gallon on the motorway. Just great motorway car. But I got there. It was a dealership as well. I won't blast the dealership because they don't deserve that much necessarily. But traveled 2.5 hours on the train. Went to look at this car. Got there, covered in cobwebs. Pressed the key. Nothing. The battery was completely dead. And, that can happen. So they got a jumper pack out, put it on the battery, nothing. Got another jumper pack out, put it on the back of the car, then finally got it started. Started driving it, cut out again. And obviously I'm not going to buy a car, especially because the car needed fuel. So I would literally drive down the road, put fuel in it, and then it wouldn't start again because the battery just doesn't have enough charge. That alone wouldn't put me off buying a car. The problem, and this is advice in general, if you go to a car dealership or really anything, but usually this will apply more to a dealership. The problem isn't that the car didn't start or that it wasn't cleaned. The problem is that both of those things tell me that the dealership didn't care because they hadn't even checked the car. It'd been sat there for months. They didn't know that the car didn't start, which means they didn't even look at the car. And that's just, no. From that moment, it's like, yeah, I'm not going for this car, which is a shame because having an Alpina as a daily, it's pretty damn cool. But obviously, wasn't meant to be. I did actually, I know you said about ruining the 190. I did have a fleeting wonder about whether you could get an Evo body kit, but obviously I wouldn't put that on the diesel because it's a 2.5 liter diesel, but it's got like 90 horsepower or something, so it's not quick at all. I've not driven an Audi RS3. No, I've driven an RS4. I've driven an S5, but not an RS5. I've driven an RS6, the R8 V10. What other Audis have I driven? I feel like I'm forgetting one. I don't know. I've driven some of the key ones, but there are loads of Audis that I haven't driven, and loads of which I'd quite like to drive. But no, I'd love to drive an RS3, especially the 2.5 liter 5-cylinder RS3. And those fetch pretty high prices given their mileage here in the UK. And that era of Audi, I think, is my favorite, like the late 2000s. Yeah, I'm not sure about Alpina parts because that's one of the things that drew me to the D3, because the D3 is a very light mouth noise. It's a very light tune. It's not like, big twin turbo and a crazy wide arch kit. It's basically just a little bit tarted up, but it's only similar kind of performance, similar kind of power. I think they changed some turbo bits, remapped the ECU, so it's not like a crazy difference. But yeah, it's a fair thing about parts, but I'm not sure. And yeah, I'm trying to think, have I owned a 5-cylinder car yet? I don't think I have. That's one of those things that you could easily like fall into owning one by mistake, buying a classic, because like a lot of those old Beamers would have like a random straight 6 or a straight 5 or whatever. I could see Volvo doing something like that, having like a straight 5, but I can't think of a model that would have had that off the top of my head. But yeah, what I've had so far for cars, I've had 4-cylinder, 6, lots of 8, 10, 12, and technically I've had a single as well, which was obviously not a car though. I've had a single, and technically, yeah, I've had a single and a twin for bikes. But yeah, I do like a nice 5-cylinder. I've driven 5 cylinders, the Mark II Focus RS. That's a very nice 5-cylinder. And if they weren't so stupid on price, I'd quite like one of them. I considered an A8. I wouldn't get anything that wasn't a diesel as a daily, because I know you can get like the big diesels, but then I'm like, what's the point really? I'd love to drive an S8 with the V10 engine. Not to buy, but just to try one out. That'd be cool. But yeah, you don't see many 5-pots. And I want to say, didn't the Audi Quattro, I think, have a 5? 2.1 straight 5, I believe it was. Obviously, that ain't daily material. I mean, you could daily it, but not on my budget. It's funny because I remember back when I was talking to mates when we were kids being like, 15, 16, 17, and we were talking about like, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to get as my first car. This is what I'm going to get. And I remember it was a legitimate thing at the time for me to say, I'm going to have a Lancia Delta as my first car. And that wasn't a joke, because at the time they were cheap. You could buy, in fact, I've still got car magazines where there are Lancia Deltas, not Evos, but the Integrales, the like 180 horsepower version that doesn't have the wheel arches, but still quick, for $5,000. Like that, you couldn't give them away. And now they're stupid money these days. Yes, yeah, it does have the same Volvo engine. Yeah, it's the C30 in it, yeah. Or at least in the C30. I don't know if they used it in any other cars. And speaking of Volvo, that's another one I was considering as well. I was considering a diesel S80, because I've always liked the look of the S80, like their top of the line model. But I don't know, because the ones that are high mileage are really high mileage. And I don't know if I'd trust that modern Volvo era, because Volvo isn't really what it used to be in that kind of sense. But I do love Volvos. My old man's favorite car he ever had was a Volvo. He had a 1977, I think it was, Volvo 244DL with, I think it was a 2.1 or 2 liter, I'm not sure. He said it was like driving an armchair. It was his favorite car he had, with the metal bars inside the doors and everything for side impact protection, back when Volvo made their name. That, I'm glad you said that, Joseph, because that's why I brought up the S80. The S80 came up in my searches because I was considering getting either a full S80 or finding that V8, the B8444S, and putting that Volvo Yamaha engine into my Lincoln as a motor swap, because for a while I was considering motor swapping the Lincoln to something that was again a bit easier for parts, better on fuel. And what I ended up buying, and it's in the members section, but I didn't end up putting it in, but I bought a Lexus LS 400 engine, which is the 4-liter V8, like bulletproof engines. They're fairly cheap, but just solid engine, fantastic sound as well. And I considered the Volvo, and that is a hell of an engine, that B8444S. The reason why I chose not to do it, well, there are 2 reasons. One, there are hardly any on the market, so when you find one, they're very expensive, like for a full car. And the reason why I'd buy the full car is because then you know you've got everything. You've got the loom, the ECU, everything you need. The second thing is they don't have much torque. And I don't really want an engine like... It would essentially be like putting an LFA engine into like a truck. Like, yeah, it's a cool engine, but it's just not for that. You know, it wouldn't actually work that well in something that's big and heavy. And my Lincoln, it's 18 feet long. It weighs 2.3 tons, and it's 60 years old. So it's not designed to be like, wah, 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 wah. all over the rev range. It needs something that's just low and heavy and torquey, which is what the engine's already got is. And I feel like putting that Yamaha Volvo unit in there just doesn't really suit it, Yeah, I mean, the 3 Series, you couldn't give them away. You couldn't give away stuff like that. And like my old man as well, he had another thing he loved is Vauxhall Cavaliers, which here in the UK, they used to be all over the place. You very rarely see them anymore. And he loved them, like all generations. He had a 1982 as one of his last cars before he gave up driving. And he paid £175 for it in like the mid-2000s. And it only had, I think it had 70,000 miles on it or less. It was like mint, basically. And these days, that's like $3,500 minimum. And it's not that special of a car. People they miss the simple good old days of being able to have a car that doesn't need to be plugged in. It's a car that you can just hit it with a hammer, kind of as the joke goes. You can fix stuff more easily than a modern car. You don't have to plug an OBD reader into it and all that kind of stuff. An LS engine. I mean, I love the idea of doing something crazy, but if I did go down the route of a crazy swap in the Lincoln, I'd want to go for something really crazy. Like I'd do like a radial engine swap or something, like put an aeroplane engine in there and like have it on its side. But obviously that's useless because then you'd have to have like a 90-degree sprocket to send the power from like that direction to out the back into the drive shaft or into the diff and then the drive shafts. But also they're air cooled. So in traffic, it would overheat immediately. The rear pistons would get hotter than the front. So, a lot of my ideas that I'd love to do, they're just not really viable. My absolute dream idea is to put a turbine into the Lincoln and make a Chrysler turbine car, but the Lincoln equivalent of that. But again, turbines are not suited for traffic. So if I did do that, my idea was, and this would cost so much to do, my idea would be to buy, there's this particular turbine made by a company called Klimov, Polish, I believe it was. And it's like a 400 horsepower turbine. You can buy them for like $6,000 used, put it under the bonnet of the Lincoln instead of the V8. And then buy, because believe it or not, you can get these on eBay. They cost like $800. The generator from a Fisker Karma, which those who played Gran Turismo 6 will remember that car. It had the 2-liter engine, which charges the battery, and then an electric motor to drive the wheels. Kind of like a Tesla rival, but they failed. Gorgeous looking car. And the motor on the back is massive. It looks like the bell housing of a gearbox, but it's essentially like a really oversized alternator. And it produces, I think it's 175 kilowatts at 6,000 RPM, constant. And the idea I had was, because on this particular turbine, you have a 6,000 RPM geared down section. So you can attach that 6,000 RPM section straight into the charger, if you will, and then have batteries in the boot, kind of like a Tesla, and then a Tesla rear axle to actually drive the car. So it'd be electric drive with no gearbox, so you'd have that crazy acceleration. But then the turbine would run on diesel and charge the batteries. So it would be like the world's dumbest range extender, but just for the fun of it. But obviously that would be crazy expensive, and I wouldn't be able to do that kind of job myself. But that's my dream job. Oh, not my dream job. What am I talking about? My dream project, I should say. As far as having lower torque at higher speeds, you don't tend to notice that as a problem usually, unless you're trying to have performance. And like I don't buy cars for performance anymore, really. Like my Lincoln isn't particularly fast, and obviously the hearse, it's not built for performance either. But torque is fine as long as you have the right gearbox, because like those old Yanks that I've got, they're 3-speed automatics and they're super long gears, so they're fine because the engines are barely turning 2,000 revs on the motorway, and they'll keep going all day long. They use a lot of fuel to do that, but yeah. And I actually didn't sell the high roller, unfortunately. If you go on eBay, the UK version of eBay, you can see my high roller on there right now for sale. It's not been sold by me, but yeah, they've got it up for 19 grand. So good luck to them. But yeah, they're trying to sell the high roller for 19,000, which is a lot less than it cost me to build it. But yeah, it's still looking good. But I think it might take a while. I hope that the high roller goes to another country, because the rules and regulations and stuff and the government here in the UK, they don't like the car. They clearly don't want it on the road. So if it goes to America or Dubai or something, that would be perfect. I could see the high roller like taking off over sand dunes with like an LS swap. some chic drifting it down the road on knobbly tires. And I hope it does. You know, I hope the car carries on, because it's the only car I've ever built. I put more money into that car than any other car I've ever had, by far. And obviously, I want the car to keep going. I want somebody to enjoy it. I want it to be like my Mona Lisa that, you know, carries on going. Kind of the equivalent of the Y2K. And the Y2K is obviously my dream vehicle. And I've got 2 questions to catch up with from Wakil. My favorite car growing up, the earliest favorite car I remember having was when I would have been about 6 or 7, playing Gran Turismo 2 with my dad, or watching him play it most of the time, which was the Audi TT, which at the time was a brand new car. And that was like a big deal for Audi, something totally new. And I just really liked the shape of it. And I think a lot of kids at the time probably really like the Audi TT because it's just a cool looking shape. But my favorite car changed, as it does with everyone, over the years. For a good long while, my favorite car was the Mercedes CLK GTR. Then it changed to a Zonda F. For a very brief minute, the Chazetta V16T was my favorite car. Now, my favorite car has pretty much stayed the same through all of my adult life, which is Ferrari FF. I love the Ferrari FF. I'm not even a Ferrari fan, but I love it. What made me like older American cars? Well, it's a funny thing about American stuff, because even people who make jokes about American cars, even people who say that they don't like them, they look at them. They can't help but look at them. You can't help but like the sound. Everyone loves those stupid moments in Fast and Furious movies where you rev the engine and the car shakes from side to side. You can't help but love American cars, specifically muscle cars. And even though mine aren't muscle cars, they're pretty close. And they certainly have muscle car vibes. Like my Lincoln, for example, is the 2-door version of the Continental. So it has more of a muscle car kind of shape. Anyway, long bonnet, long boot, bit of a Plymouth Roadrunner kind of vibe. And it has the biggest engine that Lincoln ever produced at 462. So it's a 7.6 V8, which in 1968 had the same amount of torque as a brand new Dodge Viper did 50 years later. So hell of an engine and very muscle car-esque. But then my other one now, the Hearse, well, it's a Pontiac Bonneville originally, station wagon, but still the Bonneville's more like a mid-size kind of sedan, as they would have called it, like a family sedan, but a bit upmarket, a bit kind of maybe, I don't know, like a Jag, maybe something like that, or the equivalent at the time. But then mine has got the Buick swap, and it's got the Buick 430, which is from like a Buick Riviera and a Wildcat. So it is a legitimate muscle car engine, 360 horsepower, a little bit less torque than the Lincoln, but still 475 foot-pounds. And yeah, the sound they make, the way they shake, the look of them, how ridiculously big they are, you can't help but like them. And the fact that they're so comfortable, like my Lincoln legitimately puts a Rolls Royce to shame. And I can say that because obviously I've had one. And the Rolls is comfortable, don't get me wrong, but it's not even close to how comfortable the Lincoln is. Yeah, I bet a lot of cars were lost to the scrappage scheme, which is a shame. And that actually is probably a good point, because I feel like the scrappage scheme probably got rid of a lot of those like midpoint cars, like Cavaliers, Ford Escorts, older Ford Mondeos, those kind of cars that they weren't quite classics at the time. People didn't really care for them. They didn't really want them. They weren't new enough to be really any good, but they were cheap. And a lot of them, a lot of them are probably lost, unfortunately, through that period. And I do think that here in the UK, the law is going to change at some point about classics, because at the moment, like my Lincoln and, both of them, 1967 and a 1968, no road tax, no emission zone charge, no MOT. They can't allow that forever, and it's only because there aren't as many older cars on the road. But as people get more and more older cars, import more and more older cars, I think the government's going to try and be like, let's rein that in a bit. Because at the end of the day, the government wants people buying cars and leasing cars and financing cars because they get all the taxes off of it. And you're talking 20% VAT, for example. 20% VAT on a brand new electric car is a hell of a lot of VAT. Take again the Lotus. Lotus is what, 100 grand for one of their EVs? That's an extra £20,000 on top of that just to add the VAT. So, of course, the government wants you in a newer car. It's got nothing to do with the environment either. You look at England on a map, it's like this, and like, oh yeah, we're going to make a difference to the world with how much emissions we're putting out. It's never been about the planet, ever, and it never will be. It's about money. Anyway, that mini rant done. Yeah, the Mark II shadows are bad, but get this, mine was a Mark I, which is even worse. But yeah, there is nothing more overhyped that I've ever come across than a Rolls-Royce. A classic Rolls-Royce, garbage, true garbage in terms of how badly designed they are. And I'm pretty sure one of the only good things about it is that, unless I'm mistaken, I'm pretty sure the Rolls had the exact same gearbox as my Pontiac, the GM TH400 3-speed. So even Rolls-Royce knew to use American parts because it could handle the torque and it was a tougher gearbox. What else have we got? Was there anything else I didn't catch up with? What were the other points I was going to say? Oh, yeah. I thought it could be funny to do some predictions for what we reckon is going to be in 1.61 for GT7. What are we going to go for? Because they've been having less and less stuff from the data mining, I've noticed. Like, we've had one here or there, but it wasn't as strong as it was for a while. Like, I feel like through 2024 and maybe 2023, I can't remember, but there seemed to be a pretty good amount of data mine cars that were being added. And then it's kind of slowed down more recently. There'd be like one, or maybe even some months none. So what am I going to say for 1.61? I don't think we're going to get a circuit. And I don't think that's necessarily that big of a stretch. I reckon, let's say, 1 from the data mining and 2 wild cards. I don't think we're going to get the Xiaomi anytime soon because they've only just started talking about that. So I don't think that car or the Vision GT would necessarily be ready to go yet, but we'll have to see. I'm going to say, as far as the data mining list, let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say BMW E60 M5, the V10 era. Massive fan favorite. Loads of people want it back. It is on the list, so it is technically due, I believe. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say M5. What about the other 2? Could be more, but let's say 3 cars. Somebody said in chat, where is it? Stradali, Citroen C4 Aircross. I'm not going to say that one, partially not to steal it from you. But you saying about Citroen, I wouldn't be surprised if we got some kind of DS. That wouldn't surprise me. Which, you know, it's not the end of the world, but yeah, something like that. And even my prediction from last time, I thought it was a Cupra. I could see them doing that. You know, add like a Cupra in there. Some kind of Cupra model. Electric maybe, or whatever. What would the third one be? Let's say a classic. What would the classic be? Well, there were some classics in the data mining list. Let's say Nissan Bluebird. Or like a Datsun Bluebird equivalent. I don't think that's going to happen, but let's just say that. So BMW M5, Nissan Bluebird, and I want to say like something like a Vision GT, but I don't think we're due to have any Vision GTs at the moment, aside from the Xiaomi, but I don't think that's going to be soon. So yeah, have to be something weird. So yeah, I guess that'll be my 3. I'll go with those 3. E60 M5, some kind of DS, like crossover or something, and Nissan Bluebird, like generic, classic Japanese traffic car kind of thing. So that'll be my predictions. And of course, none of those will happen. And let's say, just for the fun of it, Red Rock Valley as well, because of course not. And I think we were due to have, what was it, Silverstone? Or something like that. Oh, that was ages ago now. I can't remember. But we were definitely due to have at least another couple of tracks. Fiat Coupe would be cool. That'd be more interesting than a lot of things. I think somebody asked something about the rolls. Where was it? Oh, yeah. Wakil asked the engine specs in my Shadow. The Shadow that I had was a late Shadow 1, because I know some of them had a 6.3 V8. Mine, at least on the V5, was the 6 3/4 as Rolls-Royce like to call it, the 6.75, 6.8 V8, which has, or had, pathetic specs. Like, for all the jokes we make about American cars, those Rolls engines are garbage. And it's not like you can improve it, because nobody makes tuning parts for a Rolls-Royce, because why would you? And if you compare it again, mine was a 73, so relatively late model. Compare that to, again, the Lincoln. The Lincoln wasn't built for performance either, but that Lincoln in 68, brand new, 340 horsepower from a 7.6. Not that impressive these days, but 60 years later, it still works. And you don't need a OBD reader or anything on it. Rolls, 6.8, so not far off a litre smaller, 180 horsepower out of that engine on the road. That's pathetic. Like, you can't make jokes about Yanks and then have that from a Rolls-Royce. And the Rolls doesn't even have that great of an amount of torque either. I think it's like 300 foot-pounds at the most. The Lincoln, nearly 500 foot-pounds of torque. It's got 485, which, for reference, that's the same amount of torque as the Bentley Flying Spur with the 6-litre W12, which I had, a 2005 model. From 50 years later, a 200-mile-an-hour limo only just has the same amount of torque as a 1968 Lincoln. And obviously the Lincoln isn't fast, but I say that, it's not slow either. More than a few occasions on the motorway, I've put my foot down to overtake something. I've looked down and I'm doing like 90, and it flies down the motorway, that thing. Top-end speed obviously isn't the strongest on Yanks, though, because of the 3-speed box. But... and yeah, the streamlined stuff from the States is gorgeous. The closest I've had to that, because the oldest car I've had was 1960, so it's right on the cusp, but that was the Lincoln Premier, and that still had the fins and everything, and like the aviation inspired, so like the billet dash where you could see the turning of the machine that had cut the metal, like the strangely futuristic at the time circular dials for the speedo and stuff, which is funny because then in the 60s they went to the long dial, which my later one has, and also the Pontiac has that as well. But yeah, very forward thinking, like the jet age, the turbine age, but yeah, just gorgeous looking cars. And again, those cars, they don't have the biggest engines, they're not the quickest, and they're not even the loudest more often than not, but those looks, just, you can't help but smile when you see like a gigantic 59 Cadillac Bel Air, or not, wow, a Cadillac Buick even, or a DeVille go past with a huge fins on the back in like bright pink, or in my case, the Lincoln in white with, well, what was the biggest car in the world at the time. It was 227 inches long, which is like 6 meters basically, which incidentally, funnily enough, that's smaller than the hearse, but still gigantic for a four-door car. You just can't help but like them, you know, even if you don't want one, you can appreciate it as like a piece of rolling art, because a lot of them really are art. I don't know about the Ferrari Purasang. I really wanted to like that car, mostly because I love the FF. If you'd literally just made an FF with 4 doors and jacked it up, I'd have liked it so much more than what they actually did. But that said, I would love it in Gran Turismo, because I'd love to see how it compares to the Lambo, and I feel like it would be a very useful car. Toyota Sora, Lexus. Are you saying about the game? Because yeah, I could definitely see those coming back in the game, and stuff like Mitsubishi FTO, DC5 Integra. They're long overdue to be back. Story Across 4. Yes, Joseph, of course. The Story Across 4 is the whole reason why I bought mine. The only difference is a Story Across 4 would cost me about literally 5 times the price to buy one, and I'd have to import it into the UK as well. I do love the Myra Avanzato as well. I kind of like the Daihatsu Move Avanzato as well, which is the super tall one with the roof racks, like retirement home special. Well, you say about not putting the power down, Adam, but it actually can. Like, I've had that Lincoln for 3 years. I've done 10,000 miles in it, that's pretty good for a classic. Most people don't use them that much. I've never had wheel spin in that car, even if I floor it off the line. And I think it's because it's so heavy that it just grounds the wheels. And, you know, it's got an old diff, so back in the day it would have probably just spun one wheel anyway. But yeah, it's not slow in that kind of way. I'm sure plenty is lost through the gearbox, but also most of the Lincoln's performance, like most Yanks, isn't really from the horsepower, it's the torque. So it's almost like a diesel engine, like when you have a big old Cummins, like even a truck, like massive heavy truck. if a trucker puts his foot down off the line, those trucks, like big rigs, they can jump off the line quicker than you'd think. And obviously they're not fast, but the torque does get you off the line quick. And it's the same with the Lincoln. So yeah, the Lincoln isn't fast, but I can surprise people in that car more than a few people. Even in modern cars, it'll keep up with them. And it's got disc brakes from new in 1968, so it actually does slow down. Yeah, they are known as land yachts. For good reason. They're very comfortable. Some of them are definitely very mushy and wallowy, but that brings me back to the stereotypes, because a lot of those kind of stereotypes, like land yachts and not having power, that's all the 70s. Like the later you get into the 1970s with the fuel crisis, the engines got worse and worse. You'd have like an 8-liter putting out 160 horses, but it was because they were so restricted on fuel. And also suspension got mushy. The interiors got obsessed with like velour instead of leather. Just cars from the 70s in America, you can look at an image of the car and smell cigarettes. Like you could just smell it on the seats just by looking at a photo. It's like a muscle memory. But yeah, I'm not a fan at all of 70s, or to be honest, most of the 80s American stuff. Like right at the end, like 71, like a Plymouth Cuda from 71 or a Charger Super B, you know, just about okay. But anything after that point, I don't know. They went downhill pretty quick. Yeah, the Honda Insight, which again used to be in Gran Turismo. They had great ideas. Streamliners, they were way ahead of their time on the stuff they were doing in cars. Very impressively so. Have you seen an Austin Allegro? Yes, I believe so. Is the Allegro the one, because I go to a lot of classic shows. Obviously, there's a big classic car scene here in the UK. And the Allegro, is that the one which has a very wide rectangular grille, single round headlight on either side, and kind of a weird back end? Is that the Allegro? Can't remember now. Might be thinking of something else. I might be thinking of a Princess, Austin Princess, but I think that's an Allegro. I know they're kind of joked about for being bad. Yeah, I mean, on the point of putting American yachts in Gran Turismo, we've had quite a few like big American classics, mostly on the muscle car side, which does make more sense, you know, like Superbird, Chevelle, Camaro. I know that some of those aren't technically, you know, it's a pony car, but yeah, they're close enough. And yeah, I'd love to see mine. Like if Kaz ever wanted to do a UK tour and get some cars into the game, I would love to see my Lincoln in there. And I'd love for other people to be able to enjoy driving Abe, because he'd be so much fun in Gran Turismo. Plus, imagine having his 462 cube as an optional engine swap to put into something else. Because that engine's cast iron. It weighs 500 kilos, the engine in that car. His engine, speaking of an Austin, the engine in my Lincoln weighs more than an Austin A35, like the entire car. That's how heavy the Lincoln is. I think I might end the stream soon, though, because I don't want to waste everyone's time sitting around all day. But it's also been a 48-minute stream. And we have covered most of the points that I was going to say anyway. But yeah. Square headlights. I don't know then. I might know if I saw it. I mean, I would know if I saw it, because I definitely know the name. I know there aren't that many of them around anymore as well. But yeah, there's lots of stuff that I think would fit really well in Gran Turismo, but for some reason they're focusing their attention on these weird choices. And some of them are pretty obviously marketing choices. I think that a lot of these crossovers and soft roaders are probably marketing. I really don't get what Kaz said either about, like, oh, the future of Gran Turismo is SUVs. Huh? Like, what are you talking about? He might, again, let's give him the benefit of the doubt. I think he might have been saying by that, or inferring, that because SUVs are like the dominant global market, that whatever the global market demands is probably what will end up being in the game a lot. If that's what he meant, I could kind of understand that. But if he means just in a general sense, then it's like, how? How are they going to dominate? Are all the live events going to be in SUVs all of a sudden? Maybe he was being, maybe he was joking around about it. I'm not sure. Alfa Romeo Montreal. Then Forza 4 is the game for you, Plasek or Plasek. because there was a Montreal in Forza 4. I think it was DLC though, so you can't really get it anymore unless you already had the DLC. I can't remember if we had that one in any other Forza games, but it was definitely in Forza 4. Can't say I used it much, but it's a very cool looking little car. Almost has like a mini Lamborghini Miura sort of vibe to it. Yeah, a Subaru engine in a Beetle would be more fun for sure. I feel like if they're going to do like the visual modifications that they've been going for recently, the Beetle would have been the perfect one for that. Because imagine if you could do more Forza style, like take the arches off completely and have it like a dune buggy. That'd be cool. Kind of like how with the Jeep, you can make the wheels way bigger, and you can totally change how the Willys Jeep looks in the game. Well, a couple of cars for that matter, the Unimog as well. Yeah, Forza 4 is still my favorite Forza game. I think that's the same for a lot of people. Gran Turismo 4 is my favorite Gran Turismo game. Forza 4 is my favorite Forza game, and I don't know, something about the fourth installation or fourth installment of games. It's where they hit their stride a lot of the time. Actually, saying that, Descart, that is, I believe, I want to say that was in the data mining list. I think the Mazda Autozam was in there. Forza added it again recently. And it's funny, actually, because Forza Horizon 5 added quite a few Gran Turismo-style cars. The Nissan PAL, which is an absolute favorite of mine. The BE1, that little cargo van, the S-Cargo, which we talked about that last time because I thought that was a snail joke. And the Autozam were added. Yeah, I could see the Autozam coming back. In fact, I could see the Autozam being like a late edition in an update. Yeah, and the Nissan Figaro as well, yeah. But yeah, I think I might leave it there for this live stream. That was basically all the points I was going to hit on. Special projects, GT7, my car, unfortunately. The American yachts around Eiger. Yeah, I don't know. The turn and circle on the Lincoln ain't bad. Taking the Hearse around Eiger, that would be fun. But the Hearse, it's funny because both of my cars have a different vibe. So like I could see the Hearse being in Forza. Like that's totally a Forza kind of car. Whereas the Lincoln is a Gran Turismo kind of car because of like the historicity of Lincoln and all that as a brand. Plus we've never had Lincoln in Gran Turismo. That'd be pretty cool. And yeah, Forza's visuals have always been a bit lazy when it comes to some stuff. They've gotten better, like with the Rocket Bunny kits and stuff for certain cars. But yeah, like that generic racing wing always looked horrible in every single game, and they've never improved that, unfortunately. But yeah, I think I shall end the stream there. We are shy of an hour, which ain't a bad thing. And I shall see you soon with, what day is it now? It's the 9th. So we probably won't get any update news just yet. We'll have to see, I guess. Hopefully we get something this month. I'm guessing probably later in the month. I'm not sure exactly when I'm going to do special project yet. This weekend will be the 12th and the 13th. The last Thursday is the 31st. So I could see them maybe doing that. I could see them doing that this month, having it on the last day of the month. So I might do special projects at the end of next week, the trailer, I think. But we'll see. Yeah, cool. I'll see you folks next time. And yeah, thanks for watching.